Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's Brian and Jim here with Drink a Beer and Play a Game, and welcome to Power Hour number 64.
Brian, goddammit, I'm the one who always says the episode number.
Oh.
Well, you left me with nothing. How's it going, everybody? 64 episodes. Still can't get down to a goddamn rhythm.
It's alright. Speaking of rhythms, Jim, you said you were recording in OBS?
Yes.
Okay. For some reason, I just had a thought of you not doing that and it getting completely fucked. It's happened before. But anyway, Jim, let's get into our rhythm. Come on, be professional. Fuck. Today, I'm drinking another special beer, but I want to hear what bullshit Jim is drinking first.
Actually, Brian, I am drinking the Citra Pale Ale from the Hinterland Brewery. Comes out of Green Bay, Wisconsin. 5.6% alcohol by volume with 35 IBUs. Thick, bright citrus combined with a tropical hop flavor. Explosion creates a benign impact on the palate. Add a thirst-quenching golden malt goodness to the mix, and you have a wonderful beer experience. This Citra Pale Ale is surprisingly low in bitterness and possesses a refreshing finish that will have you craving more. Pair with fish tacos, grilled fish, cheeseburgers, and even summer salads with interesting toppings.
You know what, Blub?
That might be my best one yet.
I realized something. For such a blub, you got a lot of sand. And I don't have a lot of need for a blub with so much sand, so you need to calm down right now.
Careful. Easy.
Wait, so you said that was a pale ale and it's at 35 IBUs?
Yep.
And I know in your annoying ass description, that is really low. So yeah, that's got to be like almost no bitterness at all.
It really isn't bitter at all. It's pretty tasty.
All right, so mine, if you follow us on Twitter, once
A
again...
little bit on the aftertaste. Tiny little tinge of bitterness on the aftertaste.
Hey, Jem,
That's where you get the hops.
shut the fuck up. Daddy's talking now. So if you follow us on Twitter and you see the hashtag beer battle, I actually just did this last week. The chocolate caramel cookie sharing size Imperial Oatmeal Stout from Free Will Brewing. It's the can that's everyone seemed to love. It's the one that drew me in. It's like the Grim Reaper, and he's red with an orange background. It's a goddamn delicious beer. If you like stouts, if you like Imperial Oatmeal Stouts, if you like chocolate, caramel, graham crackers, it's just super delicious, not very boozy, and it comes in at 10.4%.
Damn.
So, like most Imperial Stouts, it's strong. Surprisingly, it is really sweet, but this is going to sound contradictory. It's sweet, but not overly sugary like you get with some beers. And it doesn't like give you like how Jim likes to say, it won't hurt his tum-tums later on. So... yeah, it's a goddamn delicious beer. This is a whole series from Free Will, because when I was posting this, I noticed they have a few with this same design, just different colors. Like, this is the strongest and craziest one. I think the basic is just their regular Imperial Oatmeal Stout, and then they add, like, shit on top of it. So, really good beer. If you're in a PA area, or if you're in a state that actually gets Free Will, you should try it out. It's goddamn delicious.
Yeah, you can never really go wrong with Free Will. It's a pretty solid beer overall.
Oh, yeah. So, playing, I think Jim and I, it should be no surprise to anyone out there watching. This past, what did we did that Friday night, right?
Yeah, last Friday.
Yeah. We downloaded Streets of Rage 4. Jim actually double dipped, went for both the Xbox and the Switch. And I know you've been playing the shit out of it. After our drunken long play, I went through and just started trying to get like S ratings on like every difficulty just to keep unlocking characters. I think I got everyone from Streets of Rage 2 except Skate, I believe.
Don't have him yet?
Yeah, is he the last unlock or is Blaze? I can't remember.
Blaze was the second one because I just got her on the Switch.
So you didn't get Max yet? No, you got Max.
Max is the first one, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, then is Axel the third?
You tell me. I have Max and Blaze. I don't have.
I have Max,
yet.
Blaze, and Axel. So yeah. So either way, yeah. We obviously talked about it. We have actually a review going to be coming out about it. So
Topical.
don't want to spoil a whole bunch, but Jim, one thing I did want to touch on is something that just made me laugh. You playing it on the Switch and one of the problems you ran into. So I'll let you speak a little more to that.
Yeah, I'll mention it probably in the review too, but the lag was definitely, the net coding for the multiplayer was definitely a lot worse on the Switch version. There was, like, when we played, I would notice, like, maybe a little hiccup here and there that would last for, like, a split second. But on the Switch, it would be a lot more pronounced. Like, it might be a full second. I might see my co-op partner, like, automatically, like, just jump to the other side of the screen randomly. And then when we got to level 6, the game froze on us and, like, crashed. So, yeah, that sucked. We were doing good, too.
And in all fairness, Jim, I'm not trying to bust balls, but it is fair to say you don't have the strongest internet, as we've learned when we play
My
Xbox.
internet is goddamn fine.
Jim, let's put it this way. When everyone's like, oh shit, we're playing the newest Call of Duty, we have an update, it's like, my internet, I'm downloading at 200 megs per second. My one buddy, Chris, he's usually like cruising around 150. Jim's lucky if he breaks 100 most times. So his internet's always just lagging a little bit. And that maybe could have caused it with the Switch. I mean, I don't know. I'm not trying to bash the Switch at all, but we know Nintendo and their anything network or online related generally isn't always the best.
Their internet's never the best, that's for sure.
So, yeah, I think from all accounts that I saw, for the most part, the Switch version is fine when it comes to the graphics and sound. And
yeah, it's basically the same.
I saw the biggest complaint is if you aren't using the Joy-Cons in a thing, it's a little funky to just use like one Joy-Con, but that's to be expected.
Yeah, I can see that, but
yeah, I mean, that game is designed, I feel like that game is perfectly designed for what the Switch can handle anyway. Like that animation, those frames, like I'm sure they're easier to hold when it's designed in that style.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it runs perfectly fine, and that's why there's so many beat 'em ups. It's like a revival of that genre lately. And every one that I've played, like 99 Vitas or Streets of Red or hell, even the new Shaq Fu, like they all play perfectly fine and like on the Switch. It's great for that like kind of retro feel.
Yeah. But no, that for me, it's been just toying around with that and still Fallout 76 and really nothing new to report. I doubt, Jim, you've been playing anything else but that.
No, it's just been Streets of Rage. I played a little of 99 Vitas with a buddy because it was like $1 on the eShop and I already had it. So I was like, yeah, I'll do some co-op with you. But then after he got off, I went right back to Streets of Rage.
Interesting. So yeah, probably by the time we do next podcast, hopefully Jim will play something else, but
probably not.
It'll probably be something that pisses me off anyway.
No, I'll be on the Streets of Rage 3 character unlocks and on my 7th playthrough.
Oh, God. And I'm still better than you. That's what's crazy. The footage shows, Jim. So, Jim.
It's my first time playing.
That's your first time playing a franchise that you've played a lot. It's not like I knew shit about the game you didn't. And what was your excuse for Streets of Rage 2 that you played more to me and I did better?
Because
you always got an excuse.
I was my character. You
Jim,
stole my guy.
How about you just accept?
Stole my guy.
Better gamer, Jim. Listen, if it comes to who's better at Mario Kart 64,
we've been over this.
Street Fighter, that's my point. I can admit when you're better than me at games. You're way better at typing than the dead to me. You know what? You can get all the awards in the world for typing of the dead. But when it comes to good games, I'm just better. That's all.
Moving on.
Jim, you need to explain this next topic because the title just pissed me off. And,
yeah, I just did this as a little reminder for myself. So, I'm getting older, and the body in certain ways breaks down. And I'm pretty sure, I've known my tolerance for alcohol has been going down and down and down. Not that it was ever fantastic to begin with. But over the past couple of weekends, I'd be out, grilling or picking some weeds or stuff like that. We're just running around with the kid in the backyard. And I'd be sipping on some tasty... You're going to hate me.
I already hate you. Don't fucking say White Claw. Please don't.
No. Some Twisted Tea half and halves.
Oh, I saw the pictures.
And after 3 of them, I'm like, man, I am buzzed as hell right now. I don't know if it's just vitamin D, mix it in with it. I don't know if it's me being a
That's
big
not
old
a
little
thing.
bitch. Vitamin D enhanced, Brian. So, yeah, I'm just becoming a basic white woman at this point. So, yeah, I'm slowly turning into a Karen with the asterisk over the A because, that is a slur term, Brian. And I will not be oppressed. My people will not be oppressed by you.
So here's the deal, Jim. When I saw you, All right. When I first saw you put this topic, I thought you were going to refer to the fact of just how bitchy you've become and more angry in life in general since certain events that we've discussed. You used to be Mr. Carefree, and your anger level and your annoyance with things and your general hate of most things, especially things that make other people happy, has gone through the roof. So I thought that's what you meant when you said you were becoming a Karen. This just threw me for a loop, and yeah, here's the deal. I'll commiserate with you that just getting older in general does suck. Hurting yourself sucks. Last weekend, Sunday, I thought I broke a rib because my wife decided to, and this is a thing, if guys, you're in a relationship, I'm sure your girl does this to you too. You get a project done in a house, and you tend to, guys, we are generally just not the best at putting tools away or putting shit away. So I had painted a room. We have a wash sink. I put my rollers in there, my paint rollers, and they were in there for like 2 days because I was letting them dry out. And my wife was cleaning out the room that has the wash sink, and she decides, let me put it on the steps going down the basement, so when Brian goes down there, he'll see it, take it down. That would be fine, and there's etiquette for how you put goddamn paint rollers on the steps. Well, she put it with the roller sitting on the edge of the third step, and I didn't have the light on, and it's a blue roller, and we have blue carpet. So I stepped on that. Both my feet went up, and I missed about 4 steps and landed on my rib on the step. So that hurt like a motherfucker. And needless to say, I had some things to say.
Brian, does she have a black eye?
Damn it, Jim! I don't beat women anymore. But the thing is, I was like, wow, this takes so much longer for me to recover from, like versus how it used to be. And you and I have talked about hangovers, injuries, all these things that take so much longer. And then I think it was the night we did Streets of Rage. I drank only 2 or 3 beers. I think I had a beer before and then the 2 beers when we were playing. And then I did what every, I think, drunk person does, is made terrible food choices afterwards.
Oh,
I think there was like leftover, like the kids had leftover beefaroni. I was like, oh, I'll eat that. And then I was like, oh, there's a handful of like chocolate almonds. Let me eat that too. You know what? Let me make myself a sandwich. We got these spicy pickles. Like, it was just terrible shit, like all combined. Needless to say, like I woke up like hot. My heart's beating fast. I was like, what the fuck is going on? Sure enough, I puked in the middle of the night, feeling completely awful. And I was like, off a couple beers, that happened to me. Now, granted, I was mixing very odd beers, but still, I was just like, we used to do dozens of shots, beers, and you'd puke and rally. I felt like ass the entire next day. So I can commiserate with you. Not with the fact that you were drinking hard iced tea or whatever, but yeah, it sucks getting old.
I was having a tea party. Repeatedly.
Damn it, Jim.
It was delicious.
All right, so what's next, Karen?
All right, next up is what we always do. Patreon time. Patreon.com/DrinkABeerandPlayAGame, where for as little as $2 a month, you can ask a question that we will answer on this Power Hour podcast.
Jim, should you mention the new bonus tier?
I mean, if you want to jump into that right now.
Nah, we'll wait. We'll wait.
All right. Just blue ball everyone the entire episode. That's fine.
Make them stick around.
Yeah, make sure to stick around and see what we have up our sleeves. Unless you follow us on social media, then you already know.
Who is Eric Cartman's father?
Who shot Mr. Barnes?
All right, so
first up, from G to the next level. Now that Streets of Rage 4 is out and it's awesome, what do you think should be the next classic Sega franchise to get a new game? Cheers.
I feel like you and I have touched on this before, but I'm going to go back to the well. as I have many times. And instead of saying things like haunting or poltergeist or kid cool or shit like that, I'm going to go with, once again, Splatterhouse. I know they had that remake game, but I would love it done in the old style of the side-scrolling beat-em-ups, and give me a new Splatterhouse full of gore, crazy. Give me something new like that. Especially since beat-em-ups are... Oh, yeah, that's true. Shit. Well, I just think of it as it. All right, then...
Half the games are on the Genesis, so I can see it.
Then Haunting, because I can't think of anything else off the top of my head.
Just jumping into Haunting. That's fine. You know, I'm kind of surprised we haven't had a new like Golden Axe game in almost 20 years now. The last one was at the one that was on the PS2 that was like Europe only and everyone hated it. So I think it's time we had another one of those. Keep it with the retro. What do you call it? Beat 'em up revival kind of deal. Do what you did with Streets of Rage. Just do it with Golden Axe, and I would be perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, Golden Axe was always a weird one for me because I liked it, but I also kind of felt like it was a bit overrated.
A little bit. Like, it's not my favorite in the world, but I think it's like time. Maybe new Vector Man, because that's been completely dead since the Genesis years.
Yeah. Either way, that's I still say Splatterhouse.
God damn it. There's a lot of franchises that could use the old reboot. I mean, give me another Fantasy Zone. I would love another Fantasy Zone.
I'm sure you would, Jim.
Yes, I would. People. All right. Next up, from Game Whisperer Dean. Do you have any games in your collection still sealed?
So, Jim, you answer first because I'm looking behind me. I actually just happened to see that. So you answer that while I look.
Besides a couple of things from Limited Run that I just haven't gotten to yet, I would say as far as like old sealed games go, I only have like 2. And it's ones that I got from Goodwill for like $3 and they were still shrink wrapped. And I was like, when am I going to get around to this? But it's sealed and $3, so why not? So I think I have like one of the Tony Hawks on Game Boy, and it's like Super Stars, not Star Soldier. What is it? Hold on. Oh, Super Drop Zone on the Game Boy Advance. I have no idea what that is, but it was like $3 at a Goodwill and sealed, so I was like, yeah, I'll pick it up.
Yeah, you and I think, share similar stories. The whole Goodwill. I have to imagine these 3 games I have right here are definitely Goodwill. I know I wouldn't have paid more than $2 for any of these, but it's quite an interesting collection. So for the PC, it's actually the Stronghold collection, which is a really, really good RTS series. I really got this because I wanted to play that game Stronghold Legends, because just like Age of Mythology, I love the idea of like myth or folklore RTS style mixed in with regular RTS, but even the regular ones, it's a great one. So it has 5 games in it. It's still shrink wrapped just because I had most of these games, and I think on Steam or GOG or whatever, like I bought the games I'd wanted to play. So when I see something like this for like $2, I'm like, sure, let me get that. I also have Gears of War, the complete collection, like with all the DLC on the Platinum hits. It's a Gears of War 2, I think. Yeah. And this was another one. I think I already have Gears of War 2, but once again, if I see something shrink wrapped, my brain kind of also goes to, if it's cheap enough, maybe we do a giveaway for you guys or something. I don't know, but I was just like, I'm not putting that down. And then one I know I'm going to have to play because I love the series, but I heard it's just such a dog shit game, is Aliens Colonial Marines.
Oh.
It is by far the most hated and poorly reviewed Aliens game. Dirt cheap. I was like, you know what? I got to pick it up. It's for the PS3. Yeah. One of these days I'm going to get around to that. And those are the 3, because I actually just moved my where my game room is, and as you can see, I actually have the display behind me. So I had noticed, I was like, oh shit, I still got some of these shrink wrapped. So good timing, Game Whisperer.
Yeah, the only other one I can think of right now is the we bought it when Toys R Us was going out of business. So I picked up the Borderlands collection. and I think it was like $10. So I was like, oh, I'll get all the Borderlands games to date. Still haven't opened it.
Of course. That pisses me off because it's a good game.
Well, when we
Well,
go
they're
through
all
the
good games.
when we go through the games, I'll be able to play them on my own, and then I can, blah 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 blah. Blah.
Good question, though. I like that.
Yep. Next up from Eric Lowacki. Actually, just came back to Patreon. Thank you. Have you considered starting a separate channel where you discuss topics not related to beer or games, aka Jim and Brian at the movies, or some variation of that? Noticed you guys touched on this in Power Hour 62. Is Droey? I don't know what that means. Is that some kind of foreigner greeting or goodbye?
I'm not sure. Yeah, so I think Jim and I just talked like we did on the podcast. The idea is interesting to me, especially knowing there's some movies that Jim and I we love. So just as general, whether it be a separate channel or it's just an added-on thing to our current channel, for us to just bullshit about movies we love or crazy-ass movies, especially some of the ones we watched in college, that could be an interesting idea. It would be very freeform. It wouldn't be like set up like our game reviews. It would just be us talking about movies we like or something. That's something I could definitely entertain.
Yeah, I mean, if we were gonna do it, we would do it on here because I don't think our 100 consistent viewers would be that pissed off if we started doing that. But probably we'd be like Angry Joe, but at a way smaller level.
Or Cinemassacre.
We're that, but without the film degrees, so we don't know what we're talking about.
Exactly, which makes us more qualified.
But yeah, we'd obviously do it on here for those sweet YouTube shekels. $1 per 1,000 views.
But that would be something interesting. Now, see, I thought about that, especially movies. Much like video games, unfortunately, Jim hasn't seen a lot of great stuff. He's seen a lot of shit. And he doesn't see a lot of newer good stuff. Like, in fact, have you even seen any of the Marvel movies?
Yes, I've seen most of them.
Well, the last time we talked, you hadn't seen half of them. So I'm always kind of curious, but you have time for the terrible movies you watch. So it would be interesting to talk, though, about, like I said, some of the more rare ones, like Blood Diner, Horno. And,
Horno. Oh, that goddamn movie.
So, yeah, we can... that would be interesting. Maybe, maybe we see if there's enough interest for that.
It's horror and porno mixed together.
Thank you, Jim.
Without either.
Why did you do that voice, Jim?
Because it was appropriate, Brian.
Damn it. But, good question, and thank you again, Eric, for rejoining us. We really appreciate it.
Definitely. All right, skip this one. I'm going to save this one for last. But next up, Sandy N. When drinking beer, does glassware really matter?
Yeah, unfortunately, it absolutely does. I was one of those people when we first started this site. Jim and I were both kind of like, man, I don't get why everyone loves IPA so much. I don't get why people... It's like anything else. If you've only had 20 different types of beer in your life and you think glassware doesn't matter, you're probably right. When you've been like me and had damn near 1,000 different beers, a whole bunch of different styles, you realize things like serving room temperature, the type of glass, because what it does is, especially something like this, the glass like this where it has a bubble right here, it's meant to aerate the beer and it allows for the aroma to keep kicking up while you're drinking. It releases certain notes as you're sipping and as it warms up. Tulip glasses are more popular for stouts and some of the stronger Belgian beers, whereas the pint glass is perfect for lagers and what most American and simple beers.
Pilsners.
Yeah, but there is reasons behind them. Will I say it's going to be life-changing? No. But it's like anything else. If you drink enough beer, I can promise you, Jim and I, we used to always do this thing where we would rate a beer from both the bottle and poured. And just that little exercise, you'd notice a difference. So whenever I drink a beer, I let it warm up to, I'll have it cold first, and then I'll let it get at least to room temperature, because so many of the more expensive or crazier beers, they don't start releasing flavors until they get warmer. And once it starts mixing with the saliva in your mouth, It's like it's a weird experience that you just have to drink enough to know what I mean by any of this. Because otherwise, like Jim and I, you're going to hate every IPA. You're going to think everything tastes like pine. And it's not until you've tried enough where you can experience it. So, yeah, glassware definitely does matter.
God, I just remember the amount of time we spent in detail on those old beer reviews 4 website formats ago that have since been nuked. But, oh my God, the work. I think we still have a lot of them. I should get around to re-uploading them one of these days.
Well, you know what's funny?
So
I remember going back and rereading them, and I'm like, oh man, I don't agree with a lot of what we said because we were still that was when we started this site. I mean, I maybe at best had tried 100 beers. Like I was very, very, very amateur in trying beers. So, one of our factors, and I was very adamant about it, was price for beer. Like, is it worth it as a rating? And I still see validity in that. Like, it only matters if you're trying to get drunk or value. But at the end of the day, that's not a metric you can always measure because you can get beer cheaper, this and that. So it's just a weird metric that we completely dropped. But yeah, I looked at some of those old ones and it shows. Like, we had a differing opinion way back then about every type of beer. And now I don't think we would quite agree with the scores as much.
True. Well, Brian, when you finally get ads put on the actual website, then I'll re-upload them because just give me the views.
Damn it, Jim. Speaking of beer and websites, I've been really going back, uploading beer reviews that I've just had pocketed. So I'm staying more consistent with our actual site. So if you haven't already, go to our site. We have a lot of beer reviews. We have our game reviews we're starting to re-implement in there. Maybe some game reviews that we haven't actually turned into videos. But we also have site articles like interviews with Bootsy and Mike Matei from Cinemassacre, and a whole bunch of other stuff that's going to be coming on there that's just exclusive to our site. So if you haven't already, check it out.
Yep. Make sure you definitely go there. Next up, from Hibiki TMD. Do you guys enjoy the Army Men games for PSX and GBA? And if so, what's the best and worst?
I friggin' love that series. I can't tell you best and worst. I just have the fond memories of the original. And I don't know. There was something odd about that game when it came out. I was like, oh, this is kind of stupid. But what drew me in is when I was a kid, I was obsessed with the actual legit toy Army Men and making like whole scale battles in my living room. So when I saw that come up, I was like, that's a great idea. And they use all the same models of the toys when you were kids. And as time went on, it got more and more complicated. And they still have like these crazy newer titles like Toy Soldiers or whatever. But I can't tell you what's the best. I only played on the PlayStation, but I absolutely love the series. And that is at least the first game we're going to review on the site because I want Jim to experience it if he hasn't already.
I only played it a tiny bit when I was a kid over my friend's house. That's one of those series that passed me by, unfortunately. I have one of them, but it's another Goodwill buy that I was like, oh yeah, I should get around to this. But no, it's definitely a series I want to dig into one of these days.
Yeah, lots of fun. So.
All right, and last up from Gamer Astral, and this will actually lead into our first actual topic. Any thoughts on the recent N64 price increases and popularity? Which also leads into our next topic of what the fuck. Game prices have, even more so than than before, have just gone off the goddamn rails lately. And I'll give you some examples, but first, Brian, let you talk about, at the very least, N64 price increases.
I saw that, and I'm sure what you're going to reference is what we saw on Twitter, which is like the PS2, what was it, SmackDown?
Here Comes the Pain went from being like a $20 game complete to like 50 to 60.
Yeah.
Knuckles Chaotix on the 32X for years was like a $50 to $60 game, and now it's selling complete for like over $150. Def Jam Fight for New York is like a $150 game now. It was always like $50 for whatever reason. I guess it was rare. And like Donkey Kong 64 used to be like $35 complete, and now it's over $100. And this is over the matter of like the last 2 months. Like, shit is going off the rails.
The only thing I can assume is with all the shit that's going on with the pandemic and people being at home and probably people just buying up, and right before like the pandemic really hit and a lot of stores probably closed, it wouldn't shock me if people went out there and mass bought stuff. That's the only thing that makes legit sense to me, because otherwise I guess that would be the generation that would be next for high prices, in theory. But I think this is a bubble. I don't think it stays. I mean, I think you're going to get a lot of people like you kind of commented, which pissed me off. But you're like, oh, I don't care about my PS2 collection. I'm going to sell mine. And unfortunately, I think there's a lot of people that will kind of see that. It's just like the stock market. They're going to see if prices are high. They're going to sell. There's going to be an over influx, and then a bunch of people are going to start trying to get into it, and then all the prices are going to drop again. Like NES had that when we first started the site. Like games like Contra were
$50,
fucking insane.
Yeah,
and now it's come down as normal again. But there are those periods of this famine thinking where everything's expensive. What I will argue,
buy the dip,
and you and I talked about. I haven't, and I don't, other than, I'd say up until the PS1 era, I don't emulate games. But I've emulated like Turbo Graphics, Saturn, Jaguar. I've emulated all kinds of crazy shit. And I'm fine with that, because if I'm just trying to play the game, I don't care. I haven't found a good enough emulator for PS1 and N64. I know you can buy EverDrives, and they might work fine. I haven't done that, but I'm saying just off my PC. So I feel like the ease of emulation also helped always kind of keep the prices of those game systems a little flat. But now I think people are realizing, like, oh yeah, that probably will be the next system that gets a whole bunch of these mini releases. And, people are going to start collecting hardcore for these systems. And there's just price gouging, this and that. I don't know why the fuck SmackDown Here Comes the Pain. I didn't think that was there was anything limited about that. I thought that sold like goddamn hotcakes.
Oh,
I don't know why that makes zero sense to me. Like, it's got to be someone who was able to con somebody into buying it that high off eBay, and then a few people saw it and they're like, well, we'll sell it this high. And people are just willing to buy it for some... I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, it's one of the most loved wrestling games ever, so, I mean, if one of them's going to go off like that, I guess it makes sense it's that one. But like you said, they make billions of copies of these games, so there's no reason for it to be that expensive. It should it should be a $5 Goodwill game.
Same with the N64 and their games in general. There wasn't that many N64 games, but they made a ton of copies. So, unless you're talking about the Japanese exclusives, what the closed-in box, to me, is always a whole other animal. Like, crazy assholes like you, no offense, Jim, are always willing to pay stupid prices for closed-in box. But N64 closed-in box, those boxes, number one, are dog shit. They're like the worst boxes of any collection ever. They fall apart really quick. I don't get why that's jumping up either. So I'm hoping it's just a weird surge because of the pandemic and people having a surplus, trying to sell off. I don't know, man. It would be weird, though, if that is a thing.
I think pandemic's a great reason. Actually, I didn't even think of that. I thought it was just a normal, this is the cycle, this is the console that it does this for now. But I guess the pandemic kicked it into high gear of people being locked in and being like, I want to play this again from my childhood. Why not?
Yep.
And back to your point, the only reason I'm complete in box with N64 is because when I grew up, I never threw away my boxes. So that's why NES and Super NES, I don't give a shit. Give me cartridge only is perfectly fine because I don't have the nostalgia with that. But the mindset I always had as a kid, I always kept my boxes. So that's why, if I ever get another N64 game, I want it in the box because it's got to match everything goddamn else because I'm a crazy person. So I at least have that kind of excuse there. Not saying it makes it right. I'm just saying it's more of an excuse than I like having boxes for N64 games because I would love to be a guy who just had the cartridges. But
that's what we've discussed this on here. Jim grew up with a collector's mentality from the time he was a kid, got it from his dad, and
yep.
To me, I was always like, save space. I'm glad. I actually, for a while there, had like all my DVDs, PlayStation 2 games, and like those big sleeve books. So luckily I didn't throw it out. I still have all my PS2 and PS1 things, but for a while there, it was like that. Like, I was just like, save as much space as possible. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's like certain games that were like always kind of expensive, like Conquer or like StarCraft 64, and I mean they haven't gone up much more than they were, but it's the more random ones like Starfox 64, for example. That was like complete in box. There's 10 billion copies of it out there. That was like a $25 game complete in box. Now that's like over 100, and I'm just like, whoa, blah. Like, if I didn't have such nostalgia, because it's my favorite game, I'm not going to get rid of it. But I'm so goddamn... I just look at it like, that is a profit right there. God damn it.
But here's the deal, and putting aside your nostalgia, honestly, I look at an N64 game like that, there's no way that's actually worth that much money. Like, I'm talking strictly from a game... Like, right now, especially you could probably blast through that entire game in, what, half an hour? Tops.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just like, whether you have fun with it or not, like, knowing what new games are and what they can give you, like, that game isn't, like, the pinnacle of greatest games. You love it because you have your nostalgia, you grew up with it, just like me with Resident Evil. If you told me tomorrow Resident Evil Director's Cut was $200, I'd be like, get the fuck, don't ever pay that.
Right.
I love the shit out of that game, but I'd say closing box, you never pay more than $50-$60 tops. And I know people pay crazy prices for it. I just don't agree. You're not getting your money's worth if you're a true gamer. If you're a collector and there's a different mentality there, and it's a rarity thing, it's like baseball cards. But from a true what you're getting out of the game, oof.
Yeah, at least
N64 is a rough system.
Yeah, at least
I'm not shitting on it. Like,
I know
I'm not shitting on it.
I know. No, what do you call it? Like, yeah, at least with like the rarity thing, I get, because hard to find is hard to find. Not many copies is not many copies. But when you get to the things that have like billions of copies out there, there's no reason for it to be that expensive. Even if it's like, I get the want to play it will drive up the price, but give it a couple months, because that's just highway robbery.
Yeah, please don't buy at this point. And you know what the problem is? When you see price surges like this, you're going to see people reporting on it. You're going to see people like
us.
Oh, yeah, I did like that game. Well, yeah, but I'm saying like more important people. And you're going to see just generally like, oh, yeah, I did like that game. You know what? Maybe it is worth paying $50-$60 for SmackDown. You know, Here Comes the Pain. It's just, yeah, it's interesting, but it's a bubble. Let it pass. That's all I'll suggest.
Probably, would you say it's like a kidney stone?
Never had one, Jim, but I don't imagine it's something that's really painful and makes you have to pee, and it hurts when you pee.
Me neither, but I hear it's not pleasant.
Yeah, so I would not equate it to that, Jim.
Well, there you go. I tried.
Got a lot of sand.
Got sand.
All right, so the next one, actually, it's our only beer topic tonight. Jim posted it up. It's from Fox. It's either Fox LA or Foxla.
It's Fox LA.
Yeah.
Foxla.
Tell me I'm wrong. All right, so Arizona beer distributor dumps thousands of kegs due to low demand during pandemic. Now, we kind of talked about this last time about just breweries in general having to discard a lot of their stock. And we've had people who we know from Seattle and Washington send us articles about breweries that were closing down. And we're seeing that happen more and more and more. So it really doesn't shock me that, unfortunately, as we said, beer is one of those things. If you were in that prime time of brewing in January, February, and this is fermented, it's ready to, it's processed, it's ready to go, and it's hitting April, like your spring beers, oh, dude, I feel bad. I would just, and I'm sure a lot of responsible breweries are doing it, but like, once that March date hit, when a lot of places across the country closed down, I hope they really scaled back production. And like a lot of places local to us are only doing like we'll deliver up to a crowler. We don't have a ton of stock, but we'll sell what we have. And if it seems like there's a demand, we'll make it for that. But like, you can't be producing beer like you used to, even with home deliveries, even with bottle shops. And I think most states still have beer stores as essential. I know like liquor stores in some other places are. For us, PA, with our stupid ass liquor situation, we don't. But now they're at least doing curbside. It's a shitty situation, and I think you're going to see this across the board. A lot of wasted beer. I would just hope that any brewery out there really just tries to first sell the shit out of it. Like, once it's in kegs, I know there's a quality control issue, but honestly, offer out to your local community and say, if you got kegerators, if you've got growlers, if you got anything that can just take this beer, we'll sell it to you dirt cheap instead of just dumping it. Because that would really suck to waste, as they did, 20,000 kegs that this particular brewery had to get rid of.
Yeah, at least for this particular brewery, they were able to supplement a lot of the losses with selling at the local supermarkets, which that's been the only fucking thing open, so why not? But yeah, I mean, we're seeing this. It's been a couple weeks in a row now where we've had some story about another brewery dumping $1 million worth of stock. I think that's what they called in this one. So, like, that's devastating. I couldn't even imagine that. Like, they're only doing 3% of their normal business that they would through, you know, what they brewed and shit like that. Like, I don't know how any of these businesses really survived that, unless they had some amazing accountant who was, you know, had a little rainy day fund that was like, oh, a little pandemic fund over here. So it's just nuts. Actually, next week we're going to have a story from, Astral gave it to us, from an actual article written by a brewery with their experience during it that we'll get to. But
okay. No, I would love to see that. And that's one of those things where, and my brother is a good friends with that, one of the main guys over at Workhorse Brewery in Pottstown. I would love to, even if, I doubt he would, but if he would talk with us, just generally have us ask some questions, because that is a good question. Like, a lot of companies have insurance. I know there's a small business loans, funds, whatever the hell, I'm going to screw it up. But there's a lot of government assistance right now for small businesses.
Not enough.
But
that shit dried up in 2 weeks, but goddamn Boeing needed to get a $500 million bailout, didn't they?
But it's one of those weird situations where I look at it like,
politics.
Can we at least do things that like aren't conventionally legal? Like PA and some other states are weird about shipping beer. Well, can we just let that law slide and allow these breweries to ship beer wherever? Like, right now, craft beer in general across this country is a huge thing. I'm sure if there was like Tired Hands, if Victory, Trogs, if people on the West Coast who can't get that shit were able to get it at a discounted price and just have it shipped, like, do what you got to do, make up your losses. You might not even get a profit, but it'll at least keep you afloat. Like, do shit like that. Like, that would be more interesting to me. Like, get the product out to people so you don't have to waste it. Selling to your local supermarkets, that's a good idea, but yeah, be flexible with the laws in general during this crazy ass time is all I'm saying.
Bri, I've got it.
Yeah.
I am about to save the craft beer industry.
Go on.
Breweries should start an OnlyFans account.
Well, if they have female bartenders, as we've seen, that can drive sales, Jim.
Right, not even that. I mean, just unwrap the label off a beer bottle a little bit. You know, do it sensually like.
Feet things.
Yeah.
Feet posts.
Put some feet on some bottles. It works.
God.
And then, do what some people do and take out YouTube ads of your OnlyFans account. Got to get the word out there, Brian. Got to spend a little money to make money.
Jim, I'm giving you homework for the next Power Hour.
Okay.
I don't care how you have to find it. I want you to find out the surge of increased, I don't even know the word I'm looking for, creatorship in OnlyFans. Like the people actually giving out content, like that create the profiles to sell shit to people. I want to see what that percentage increase has been from like February to April, because it had to be sky high.
You know what? I bet I won't even have that much trouble. I bet there's articles out there already, and I will snipe that shit.
There you go. So that's your job.
Thank you, whores.
Damn it, Jim. They're just women trying to make $1.
I kid.
Sand.
Damn it.
All right.
Next topic.
yeah.
We have Billy Mitchell. Good old Billy Mitchell is taking Twin Galaxies to court. So for those of you who don't know, a couple years back, the whole Billy Mitchell cheating scandal came out, even more so than what was in King of Kong with him just throwing in like a tape of shit. But people realized that Billy Mitchell was using a MAME cabinet to record his high scores that he had submitted. So under that, he technically broke the rules. So Twin Galaxy went, you didn't use a real arcade cabinet, your scores don't count, you're expunged from the records. Now, they might have gone a little hard with it and been like, you can never try to do it again, you'll never be part of our scoring system again. They made an example of him, kind of. So he's been talking about it for a while now, and he is taking their asses to court, basically for defamation of character. The good character of Billy Mitchell is
Here's
on
the
the
deal.
line.
Number one, let me just say, if you haven't seen King of Kong,
Do it.
it is honestly one of the best documentaries I've ever seen. And a lot of girls I work with who have zero interest in video games, I convinced to watch, and they loved it because you get obsessed with the characters. Steve Weeb is like a character onto himself.
Brian,
someone you love.
Weeby, please do not call him
Weeby, that's
Weeb.
right. That's right. That's right.
For the love of God, give that man the respect he deserves.
But Billy Mitchell is the walk away, like he's the big personality of it. And if you don't know who he is, it doesn't take more than a quick Google search. He's mullet. Would you call that a mullet?
Oh, that's a mullet.
He doesn't really have the bangs like Joe Exotic. So,
but you know, it's because he quaffs it. It's like it's parted in the middle. It's off to the sides. It's kind of like how my Corona hair is looking right now. But you know, it's just you can tell he straightens it and he takes good care of it. He uses shampoo and conditioner daily. And it's just he's got his nice American flag ties that he always has on. Man's got a gimmick going on.
He's got his jeans with his blazer and his American tie. He's got a good head of hair. He's got his beard. Like he's got a look that's like, okay, he looks like an 80s bad guy. But at the end of the day, the big story is he's this guy who broke a lot of records. Twin Galaxies, if you don't know, is one of the first and most official, biggest like scorekeeping entities in retro gaming, especially arcade games.
Yep.
So like Galagas, Froggers. I forget how many records he had. I know it was like Pac-Man, Burger Time.
In his heyday, he had like all of them, and I mean he's been surpassed time and time again. But he always like kind of creeps back in.
Yeah. Which here's the deal. Yes, you were the world. At some point, someone probably will come along and figure out some algorithm or do something. Like it's just time is going to pass all these people by. It's just a weird thing, but yeah, so he was really painted as a shady character, but he's a smart businessman. He's created a hot sauce line, which I forget who we were talking to, but somebody who actually tried it said it's actually pretty damn good. I haven't. But like, do you really need to go after Twin Galaxies? Like, dude, you're kind of old at this point. Are you still actively trying to get into games? Like, the whole defamation of character, like, does it really matter? I don't know. This is just, it's weird. I think it's a publicity stunt, and it doesn't shock me for what he does. But I'm also kind of like, I don't give two shits. I didn't think he had a good character to begin with. So them taking away his titles and saying he cheated, that was just kind of like, oh, okay, he did that. That's like when you hear a celebrity cheats on their wife. Like, oh man, this guy makes millions of dollars and has a bunch of girls chasing after him. He cheated. What a shocker. Like, of course. Shit happens.
Shock and awe. And actually, what do you call it? On the CU podcast, they just recently talked about it too, featuring Ian Ferguson, former guest of the Power Hour podcast. And they kind of said that, where it's at, like they have the anti-slap laws. So they could easily walk in there and the judge goes, why are you wasting my time, and throw it out of court. Which, to your point, could be a fantastic strategy for a publicity stunt. But I just can't imagine being the guy on a juror if this goes to actual court who has to sit there and hear people argue about like scores in video games. Like, like some 80-year-old guy's just going to sit there going, what the fuck? This isn't worth $8 a day.
Mad Dog don't like that, Jim.
Mad Dog didn't like a lot of things.
So, I will, for our interest, because we are gamers and I am interested in his character, I will follow this and see what actually comes from all of it, but...
And we love our lawsuits.
Yeah, the articles below, but goddamn, lawsuits in video games, especially in this capacity, it just, it's like video game journalism. It's like, let's not make a joke of the joke. Come on.
Actually, I'll get the video game journalism in a bit with our pretty much the biggest topic of the episode. But
yeah,
I want to go back to what you just said about Mad Dog, and I want to give the audience a little background. So,
all right, while you do that, let me grab another beer.
All right, you do that. So, when we were having one of the multiple bachelor parties before everyone got married all at once, we went to upstate New York to do some whitewater rafting. And, they give you a guide, and this guy was...
Careful.
Brian, I'm going to have to say the line, all right? It's got to be done. So, he was a mountain man of the mountains, man who was not one for social norms. So, his name was Mad Dog. Talked in the third person. And he would give us...
I just want to be very clear. We, asked, is your name really Mad? He just... No, that's what you call... His name was Mad Dog. He said, my name... So, there was just no breaking...
Mad Dog.
Yeah.
He was the kind of guy who was like, you fall off this boat, put your feet up. Don't put your feet up. Going to get stuck on a rock. You're going to die. We're just
we were whitewater rafting on the Hudson River, which, for those of you who don't know, it can be pretty crazy. And he was just explaining, you got your life jacket on. If you fall out, keep your feet up. If you don't, you get caught. You get pulled under. Ain't nobody getting you, not even Mad Dog.
Yep. So, as we were going throughout the day, and when you go whitewater rafting, if you've never done it, it's like a 7-hour deal. Like, it's taking up most of the day. And as we're doing it, he was just like, man, you boys are pretty good. Mad Dog had a whole bunch of Jews last week. Mad Dog don't like the Jews. They suck. And we were just like, oh.
Jim, let me correct you. What he said was,
okay.
You boys are a bunch of hard workers. You rowing real good. Not like that.
Good old Mad Dog.
Not like them, that last group. They were a bunch of Jews. They didn't want to work for nothing. And we were just like, what? Like, what the fuck are you talking?
We were all like, what do we say to this?
We're like, oh, Jesus. And then as it's happening, like, one of us, it was like we hit this, like, crazy, whatever you hit in whitewater raft, like this, like, bounce. And one of us almost flew out of the goddamn raft. So it was just a nutty goddamn day, to say the least.
That was an adventure.
So needless to say, with all of our friends, whenever we are talking about something we don't like, we just sometimes say, Mad Dog don't like that.
Yep, Mad Dog don't like that. The good old days.
Jim, I think it's time we jump right into one of the hotter topics.
One of the biggest
arguably
stories of like the last 2 weeks, basically, in all of gaming. So we put a bunch of links below. We're going to talk about The Last of Us 2 and Naughty Dog and all the bullshit that's going on right now. So the first one down there is going to be it's going to be like a Twitter. It's a tweet, but it's copying a Reddit post. It basically gives all the spoilers, which we won't give right now. But if you want to see what the game's going to be about, you have your opportunity. So the long story short, for people who don't know, about a week and a half ago, all of a sudden on like Reddit, 4chan, and YouTube, an hour and a half of footage from The Last of Us 2, it just went up. And not only that, people went on these boards and they took the story from it and they basically gave you plot point by plot point everything that happened. And like, we won't go into the spoilers, but people are pissed. They're pissed at the story. They're pissed at the developer. They're pissed at the leakers. They're pissed at the people covering for the leakers. No one knows who the leakers actually are. So one of the most prevailing thoughts going around is that it's a disgruntled employee who had basically some kind of money agreement or was just sick of the crunch time, so he wanted to just do it as a big F you to Naughty Dog and Sony. And Naughty Dog is known for their crunch. Like, if Jim Sterling covered it, how one of the DLC packs for like Uncharted 4 was like one of the most miserable experiences that this one game dev ever had in his life. So they kind of trounce around the thought of, we like to push ourselves to make sure we have a perfect game for release and stuff like that. which they can easily do to the detriment of their workers. So there's that prevailing thought. But then there articles came out from like one of the few. He's annoying as hell, and he's a total like white knighty kind of guy, like Jason Schreiber. I'll give the guy credit. He's an actual good journalist, which you can't say about almost anyone in games journalism. And he started to put his toe in and be like, let me do some digging. And he asked around basically, and he's like, well, according to Naughty Dog and Sony, they're just saying it was a hack, which I can kind of believe too, because one, Sony is not known for their good firewall protection and their password protection on their goddamn internet. Goddamn 2011 leak where I'm in goddamn Disney, and all of a sudden I get a call from my credit card company saying, hey, did you buy $600 worth of Domino's pizza in Sweden? And I went, no, I did not buy $600 worth of Domino's Sweden in goddamn Sweden. So,
but that would be common for you, Jim.
That would be my luck. And actually that does sound pretty delicious. So I have no faith in Sony's firewalls, and I'm sure they were having Zoom meetings like everyone else is, and everyone knows about how easily those are hacked into and all the leaks that have been happening with them. That's why banks are saying, hey, don't use this. So there's that side of it too. And then there's the outright rage that is going on at the actual plot points of the game. And Brian, did you look at the plot breakdown?
Yeah, I saw it all. And
actually, did you play the first one?
Last of Us. Yeah, I did. And here's the deal: Last of Us. It's definitely one of the best horror games, cinematic, whatever drama games you want to call it. It's a great game. It's a heart tugger, great action, horror elements. It's just, damn it, Jim. But it is such, and Jim's talked about this, one of the things he hates about most PlayStation and especially PS3 games like Uncharted, and what was very common is like those games are more cinematic events that you play moments, and then it's like a story unfolding before you.
I'm playing a movie.
And, yeah, exactly. And some people really like that. And honestly, I mean, it sold me because it's a great game, and you play through this, and the plot, it's not up to you. It's a predetermined plot, but it's written really well, like a movie. And a game like that, it is more important when it gets leaked. My first initial thought when you put all these links up was like, is this really news? Like, because here's the deal. Every year when Call of Duty comes out, I find leaks of multiplayer to get all the information months in advance.
I'm gonna say there's a big difference.
I know. Yeah. If you let me get to the point, you goddamn bit killer. Come on, bit killer Jones, calm down. So what I'm saying.
I'm sorry, Brian. What number podcast is this? Bastard.
What I'm saying, Jim, is the fact that you like leaks for a game that's story driven, like Last of Us. I fully get the rage. Most games, though, I don't really think I can consider any game that you don't see some leak to some event to some amount. But this leak was over the top, and it goes back to the joke of video game journalist. The problem is it lived on a Reddit thing. And I know Reddit is huge with a lot of people, but honestly, until that Reddit thread or information from that Reddit gets leaked out to Twitter, when a journalist picks it up, look what's been leaked, and then they put links to the links, you're bringing more attention to it. And if you are a video game journalist, I know that, I guess in theory, is your job, but at the same time, I would almost rather them just nobody talk about it. Like, that sucks. We don't know who leaked it yet. As you pointed out, the disgruntled employee thing seems to all but been like completely faked. Like, that was debunked by a lot of shit, but we don't know. We have no idea where the leak actually came from.
Would be convenient. I mean, far be it for me to say that billion-dollar companies would want to say, "Oh, our employees don't hate us. They wouldn't do this. They just got hacked."
Calm down, Alex Jones. That's all I'm
saying. The globalists are current to Fox gain and leaking the Last of Us.
But as you pointed out, and the journalist,
Love
it's
that.
Also, honestly, if I was a billion-dollar company, I would almost rather a bullshit story come out and say it is a disgruntled employee versus our firewalls do suck that bad, and yeah, someone hacked us. I would rather that's one angry employee out of a couple thousand than that our firewalls suck. So I don't know, like, to me, there is no good situation. If your firewalls fell apart, if you had a disgruntled employee, or you're just the jerk off who actually decided to leak it because maybe you got information from, like, however it happened, the leaker is the issue. The fact that it got out, it really sucks. And all these people covering it now, I just hope anyone that is a diehard Last of Us fan, you just avoided the internet like the plague. If you saw an article about it, you didn't open it, you didn't reveal it. It does suck. At the same time, that is not going to spoil... How do I put this? Like, if you were one of the people who didn't see, I guess this is a spoiler, Avengers Endgame, and some of the things that happened in that movie, like Cap picking up the Thor's hammer. Like, as soon as that movie was out, the next day, people were putting GIFs online, and, like, it was fucking nuts how much was out there that all of a sudden, like, was getting leaked. And that was a more blatant leak. You didn't have to click through a link to find out, like, this happened. Like, people were just putting pictures of it up. So, it would not have stopped me from enjoying the movie. And just, like, now that I know what's happened with this plot, I'm still going to play it. It sucks a little bit, but I'll still enjoy the game because at the end of the day, the game is a game and it's not a movie. The plot is important to me, but is the game still fun? Am I emotionally invested? Yada, yada, yada. It really sucks for a lot of people. I feel bad for you guys who are diehards. But unfortunately, I think we are also in a culture and society that if you really want to find a leak of anything, it doesn't matter if it's a game, it doesn't matter if it's a movie, it doesn't matter if it's an OnlyFans. Your shit's going to get leaked on the internet. Someone's going to be able to find it one way or another. So it's kind of like the world we live in. So I've come to just be like, yeah, that happens.
Now, to that point, now this is where I think we could have a fun little discussion. I didn't play the first one. You did. What did you think of the plot? Because as someone who didn't play the first one, like, I think they went in a really, I'll say, daring direction. I don't know if it's a particularly good one, but with the rage that you see and, like, the people were invested in those characters, you can tell. And I look at it, I'm like, man, you got a lot of balls to go this direction in it. Now, there's the people who are pissed off about the Christians or a cult and the bad guy part of it, but that's like a minor spoiler, but there's a Christian cult that's the bad guys. So, of course, there were the stories of the developers who were Christians who were like, yeah, I was uncomfortable making this, but it's also my job, so I kind of went, I didn't speak up, which that could be its own discussion too. But as far as, like, the actual plot goes, I was like, wow, they just really went for this.
So I'm not I don't want to reveal anything from the first or second game. What I will say is a character you really fall in love with. It is interesting what they choose to do. The general plot of the first game, I'm not saying it's thrown out the window, but I'm saying they clearly take it in a completely different direction. And what it would have done, no matter what, whether you liked it or not, would have thrown you for a complete loop. And it would have been a complete surprise. I think it almost reeks of once again, a publicity stunt. Because it's like, you go that drastic, you don't care if people love or hate it. You want eyes on your game.
I'm an artist.
You want to do something now. Yeah, exactly. Like, you're like, I don't care if people like this character or this development of the plot. I'm going to go this way. Major shows like The Walking Dead have had similar situations to what's going on with that. Like, there's so many things out there, and that's where it boils down to. It's like there's the fandom that is created because of what you create. Like, South Park hit on the head with, like, Star Wars and George Lucas and all that, and that joke they made about him. Like,
the stormtrooper getting raped?
Well, no, just the general idea of, like, when a director releases a movie and then decides later on to come back and do something and make something new that contradicts what is a fan theory or a prevailing theory, is it their right? Is the art in the public where it's been sitting, or is it with the creator? I'm not a director. I'm not someone who's actually created a legit original movie, game, whatever. But if it's my property and I had an idea for a story that people don't like, I guess I can fuck it up if I want to. It's just not going to be popular. And it always goes back to, don't, if you want to speak louder to these creators, don't buy their products. If you keep buying their products just to bitch about it, you already paid the money. They don't care. Like, to think they care after you paid your money for it is the wrong idea. They don't care about the comments after the fact. They care about the fact that you bought it at all. So, and honestly, when you buy something, you bitch about it, there's going to be just as many people who want to buy it to see if you're right or wrong about your critique. So, it's like, be a little smarter about what you buy into. But yeah, this plot twist would have been a very big, I think the game would have gotten, you would have just seen that typical split of people who love that they went so crazy with the direction, and then people that are like, it's fucking blasphemy. How could they do this to this character in this plot? So,
Right, it's the Last Jedi of post-apocalyptic games.
Yeah, I guess that's actually, it's not a terrible analogy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's to a degree, yeah, that's it. But then again, maybe they thought they were being the last empire and like giving you such a twist that you're like, oh my god, that's crazy. Like maybe in their eyes they were creating that oh my god moment, and they hope this becomes a top 10 on everyone's thing of like gaming moments we didn't expect. So yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, there's more I could say, but I guess I'll get a little bit more spoilery, so I'll just drop it there. But
I don't want to touch on any of the spoilers. But
no, actually,
at the end of the
Brian,
day,
now here's a question for you. As a guy who played in like the first one, are you mad that because of the nature of our page, you had to look at these spoilers?
No, I'm also the type, I can still, like, you and I are polar opposites.
Right.
You don't do any research for anything ever.
Correct.
I can literally know absolutely everything, and yet I can still end up enjoying things more than you can. Like, the knowing the stuff about the game doesn't ruin a game. It almost enhances it for me, because now it zeroes in my expectations. This, as I said, it's a wee bit different because you're talking about a major plot, which is the excitement you get from the game. But it'd be like similar once again if we were back in the late 70s, early 80s. I know I'm gonna get crucified by Star Wars fans. Whenever Empire came out, and somebody walked by and was like, "Dude, did you know Darth was Luke's father?" I'd be pissed a little bit, but then I'd be like, "Huh, I'm really interested to see how they get there." Like, that's crazy. And I would come up with my own ideas leading up to the movie. And then when I would see it, I'd be like, oh, that's how they did it. So I can still fill in, like, gaps with my imagination. It's not like, well, that's all done. Like, that doesn't kill games for me ever.
It actually might. Well, it's weird with games, too, because, like, movies are so dependent on those big moments. Like,
sure.
For Force Awakens, like, it got ruined for me that Han got killed. And I was like, oh, well, I'm kind of pissed that I saw that, but I still want to see the movie. But, like, seeing the movie after knowing that twist, like, it made me realize that one scene was, like, the entire, like, emotional crutch of the movie. And when I walked out of Force Awakens, I was like, oh, they just remade, like, A New Hope, but they killed Han. I was like, yeah, that was a meh movie. But when everyone else in the world was like, how can you not love this movie? I was like, because it wasn't that good. And then as you saw what happened afterwards, Daddy was right. But... it's the kind of thing where it's like, man, sometimes that one big gotcha, and I think there's a lot of gotchas with this fucking Last of Us situation, but sometimes that one situation can really make or break an entire thing.
No, and that's what I'm saying. Like, a game like this, because it is so plot-driven, it would piss me off, but I'm still going to play it. I'm still going to be like, all right, well... I'm almost hoping, like, I've seen the articles, I know it, and I know once I start playing, they might replay in my head, but I'm going to try and put them out of my head by the time I actually get to the game, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it makes me wonder, like, would people like Final Fantasy VII as much as they didn't kill Aerith? Shit like that.
Yeah, it's... it's almost like me playing through the Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 remakes, the minor changes they made, they didn't change the final plot. I knew where it was all going. I knew what parts of the maps I was going, and I know this is different because it's a remake.
Right.
But I still knew the plot, but I was still excited at the, like, ooh, how are they going to show this scene that I'm looking forward? Like, like, it's shit like that.
Yeah. Now, when they took the interracial gangbang out of 3, were you, like, pissed off about that? Or did you think that was, like a move in the right direction?
I was like, God damn you, PC culture!
See, that's what I thought.
Stars.
Jesus.
So, yeah, obviously, this is a really big topic, and we're trying to dance around all the spoilers.
The plot points, yeah.
The links are below. I'm just going to heavily
do your own
heavily
research.
warn
If you've somehow avoided it to this point, you don't want to know what happens, don't click on the links, but...
Yeah, if you're going to play the game, if you like the games, don't click, don't look into it. But they're there, and it does suck. That, like I said, I'm curious once everything really comes out. Who the fuck leaked it? Like, I don't care who it is. You're the fucking asshole. Like, forget everything else. That's the problem right there. So, there's some asshole always that wants to spoil fun for other people.
Yeah, pretty much. So,
all right. So, Jim.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
So I decided to put this up here.
Having a little fun, are we?
This is Which is Better. And obviously inspired by Streets of Rage 4. Jim had a different Which is Better, which we'll save for next time.
Yep.
But I thought about this, and I went through, and I actually played all the games that complement what we're about to talk about. I wanted to say which is better between Max Thunder Hatchet, a.k.a. Max Thunder from Streets of Rage 2, and he's in Streets of Rage 4, and Mike Haggar from the Final Fight series. So, Jim, I'll let you go first because I already know who you're going to say, and I'll let you take it off. And just be aware that I'm going to try to put aside who I actually like the most, and I'm going to do devil's advocate here.
Well, Brian, I might be surprising or disappointing you because I gotta go Haggar. And I have to...
Damn it!
Yep, yeah. Do that right back in your face, then you bitch. Because, you know what? Let's put it this way. I love Max. Max might be my favorite character to play as in all of Streets of Rage. And I might like Streets of Rage more than I like Final Fight in general. But Haggar is way more iconic. He was in every single Final Fight game. The only character to be in every single Final Fight game. He was in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. He was in Saturday Night Slam Masters. He's just a guy that Capcom has just thrown into a lot of other things where... I mean, of course, it's Sega being Sega. You don't even see Axel or Blaze and other things that much, but you especially don't see the lower tier guys in their eyes like Max Thunder. I love playing as Max. He's probably my favorite character in all of beat-em-ups, which is saying a lot for me. But Haggar is better, even if he is a little leather daddy with that strap over him.
You took all the fun out of this. I wanted to prove you
Yes!
so wrong.
Yes!
So, yeah, Mike Haggar is the answer.
Well, be devil's advocate, Bri. Here's a challenge. Be devil's advocate right now.
I can't because I had my shit lined up because I knew you were going to... I was convinced because I know you've really only played like a half of one of the Final Fight games. And I know you're such a boner hard for Streets of Rage, so I'm like, oh, there's no way you're not going Max. You fucked me up.
Method of my madness, Bri. Method of my madness.
Yeah, that threw me for a loop.
This makes me so happy. I love
so
taking
here's
away
the
your
things.
fun.
Here's why I'm just gonna double down on why Max is a dumb character, even though he's as Jim said, he's Jim and I's favorite character from Streets of Rage. One,
cool pants.
Can we just talk about how fucking stupid Streets of Rage 2, the cover art for that is, where he's bald and then in the game he's not?
Oh, that does damage to everyone on that cover.
Why? Like, what? But here's the deal. Skate looks like Skate.
Right.
Blaze looks like... Go ahead.
Real quick. All right. Were you a dumb kid like me and constantly confused at the back cover and thinking, why does that guy have a don't walk sign as a head?
I mean, I'd have to have it in front of me to know exactly. I'll just say maybe, because I don't have that memory as good in my head.
Because just to show you how dumb I am, I was like, man, that guy's got a sign for a head, and he's never in the game. When it's really just a guy walking under a sign. So, yeah.
I hate you, Jim.
It's the brain power I work with here.
As I was a kid, it legit bothered me. I'm like, who's that bald guy?
That bothered me, too.
And I'm like, wait, why is he...
Is it the Donovans? But he's got Max's pants.
Well, what really drives the point home that fucks me up of... They've mishandled Max so bad in the fact that he's only in Streets of Rage 2. Obviously, he comes back in Streets of Rage 4. But in Streets of Rage 4, is it just me? Other than he's got a tiny bit of gray. Like, I already thought in Streets of Rage 2 he's like a little bit older, like maybe 30s. And in Streets of Rage 4, like when we first see him, he's got the tiny bit of gray. But then in weird cutscenes in Streets of Rage 2 and 4, he almost looks like Japanese. And I'm like...
Well, the game was made in Japan, Bri.
I understand that, but Axel, Blaze, and Skate certainly don't look Japanese now, do they, Jim? They don't. So,
Titties.
My point is, I was like, why does he kind of look Japanese in the cutscenes? Is he Japanese? He has zero backstory. I scoured the internet trying to find any information. As you said, Capcom has blasted Mike Haggar everywhere. Dude's 6'7". Like, I can get fucking stats about all this crazy shit about him. Max, you can't find shit. Other than he was in a comic and he was a cop but then quit the force. Like, that's it. And, yeah, it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of interesting. And I think you and I are actually on the wrong end of the spectrum here because I think there's a lot more hate for Max than
really
you and I apparently, and we'll get to it at the last.
Oh,
we're
gonna get to it, yeah.
But he is hated on a lot of polls, which shocks the shit out of me because I thought everyone loved Max like me and Jim do. Like when Jim said he liked Max, I thought that was the normal answer, and apparently we're dead wrong. So I just wanted to throw it out there. You know, Mike Haggar, I thought for sure you were going to say Max. I can't even... There's really nothing I can even play devil's advocate. Like, I could think of very stupid things, but yeah, at the end of the day, it brought to mind one question. Capcom, no matter how you feel about Final Fight,
right?
They have always done a great job of integrating characters of their franchises into other games. Why didn't Sega, and I guess Sega just didn't have as vast of a bunch of franchises to do it, why didn't they have a big fighting game series where they included all that? Like their Final Fights and other series? Like
Because it's one of 1,000 things that Sega's done wrong over the years. That's why. They ignore their old IPs. They ignore everything. Sega of Japan will go out of its way to spite the West because if something's more popular in the West than it is in the East, they'll just do what they can to be like, yeah, we don't care about that. We care about like what appeases Japan. So Sega's a weird company, man. They shoot themselves in the foot out of like personal spite on purpose for no reason.
Taking out MAME and fan created, was there ever even something of a Streets of Rage fighting game? Like, and I'm not counting the battle mode.
No, they were never thrown. Oh, Jesus Christ, they were never thrown into any other. Sega never really had its own flagship fighting game franchise. Like,
true. The
American developers, like, they made Eternal Champions. They were really trying to make that the. They were really trying to make that the Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter killer, and of course it wasn't. But also, Sega of Japan was like kind of against the game and the whole marketing that they did behind it. Again, Sega of Japan fighting against Sega of North America for reasons. So that's, another reason why we never got that. Like, the best we ever got from Sega for any kind of crossover shit was Sega All-Stars Racing and Sega All-Stars Racing Transformed, which are great games. But it just kind of sucks we never got more than just a straight... Like, why don't we have... Like Sony has their Smash knockoff. They only did it once. I wish they did it more, but they have their Smash knockoff. Why doesn't Sega have theirs? They have enough characters, goddammit.
Yeah, it's always driven me crazy. I would love, even if you just do a Streets of Rage fighting game and you literally use every boss, just use bosses and characters, and that's enough. Like, you don't have to use common enemies, but use bosses, use characters, do a simple make it complicated. I don't give a fuck. Just give me a fighting game. I would have always loved that as a kid. And yeah. So.
Sega being Sega.
If you guys out there can argue for Max being better than Mike Haggar, I mean, I could throw together some real bullshit, but it would be stretching.
One guy's got bigger shoulders.
I would, let's just put it this way, Jim. I could stretch my bullshit and make an argument out of it, but at the end of the day, I just know in my heart it's wrong.
I'm just glad I took your fun. That's all I'm glad about.
You did. You really did. This is almost the inverse of when you fucked up so royally about how you argued against Resident Evil.
I was just thinking about that. This almost makes up for me shooting myself in the foot there.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, Jim ruined that bit. So
I enhanced it with your disappointment.
Let's move on to overrated, underrated, and this one actually was thrown up here by Jim. The Street Fighter EX series, and I assume you're basically talking about there was only the 3 games, right?
Yeah.
Like the original.
2 in the PlayStation, 1 in the PlayStation 2.
Yeah. Wait, you mean 1 on the PlayStation, 2 on the PlayStation 2?
I thought Street Fighter EX 2 was on the. I could be wrong.
I thought it. I'm not an expert on it, so whatever. We'll just agree to be somewhere in the middle. But either way,
we'll agree to not care enough.
EX was their attempt to make full 3D models, and correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't the first EX a full 3D arena too?
I forget if it was a full arena. Like I know
like 2 and 3 for sure were just 2D arenas with full 3D rendered characters.
Well, you could sidestep. You could sidestep like an arena in 3. Like you could like try to dodge attacks by sidestepping like in the Z-axis.
But it wasn't like when I'm saying the original EX, I thought was straight up like I'm thinking like Tekken 3, Soul Calibur, like it was a full on arena. You're moving every which way. Once again,
I mean, I think they're still kind of in the vein. All of them are in the vein, I think, of like Tekken-ish. Like when I think Arena Fighter, I think like Power Stone, shit like that.
No, see, well, when I'm saying arena, I'm thinking, like you said, like Tekken 3, Soul Calibur, games like that where you can just literally that vertical and down movement, and you can literally like the arena is just huge. I'll just put it that way. But either way. This was Street Fighter's attempt to go in that realm. And honestly, when I think of that first game, I remember being like fairly impressed with how they pulled it off. I don't have as much experience with 2. I have no experience with 3. I think I have a little bit experience with 2, but once again, I could be blending 1 and 2. I just remember thinking, like, this is really cool because that style of the full 3D rendered, what I always loved about it, and this is going to be a really weird stretch, but Tekken 3 is one of my favorite fighting games of all times, and the ability to, like, 2D fighters have an inherent issue that your character block is really just a big hit block. So even when you duck, you're essentially still a square. Like what you hit is not pixel perfect. It's not character or model perfect because it can't be, and I get that. When you got to 3D, when you think of like Tekken 3, like you throw a head kick, and if a guy's arm or head moves just out of the way, like to see like someone kind of bend back a little bit and that kind of perfect model hitting was always so impressive to me. So that style, for that reason alone, appealed to me so much, and I liked the freedom of moving in different directions because it gave a different level of strategy. It was completely more not as limited as a 2D fighter in terms of how you could move and avoid attacks, and it forced you to not rely on the block button, which, as I've said on this page, I fucking hate block buttons.
You do.
They're so stupid.
Wait, no, you do like block buttons because you like Mortal Kombat more.
No, I hate... No. I like that Mortal Kombat, there is a block button.
Right, you hate the lack of block buttons.
Games.
Yeah.
No. How do I put this? I don't like blocking at all in a fighting game. I hate it. It's the same as camping in a shooter. Like, it is a strategy. It's a part of the game. But it's a bitch move at the end of the day. And I know why people do it. but I don't like that function in a game because it just delays the action, or it cause you're just doing whatever. In all those other games, and maybe there's a block button I didn't know about, but you can avoid hits by just moving in different planes. So there were so many different ways to evade an attack where you didn't have to rely on blocking. So that's one of the reasons why Street Fighter EX always really appealed to me. I thought it looked really, really good. Now, granted, you play it today, like most PS1 games, doesn't age the best. I can't speak as much to 2 and 3, but yeah, I think it's a bit underrated because I'm gonna catch some shit for this, but honestly, take out Street Fighter 2 and the million, what I'll just call old school DLCs for that, and Street Fighter 4 and 5. The in-between was pretty rough for Street Fighter. It was very unmemorable. Whether they were good games or not is irrelevant. They're just not memorable. And at least EX tried something new, and I thought it pulled it off fairly well. But Street Fighter fans weren't up for that 3D model. They wanted to just go to 2D. Everyone after Street Fighter 2 was like, just take it back to Street Fighter 2. Like, maybe add in ultra combos and all that crazy shit from Marvel vs. Capcom, but take it back to Street Fighter 2. And they basically just went back that way eventually and added in combos and all that crazy power-up shit. But I think EX was at least bold enough to try something new. So it's underrated for that reason.
Wow, you say I'm long-winded. But, no,
You're long-winded on a gameplay for a game that takes 20 minutes to beat, and you talk 25 minutes about how it has so many features.
Just you wait until I do the Streets of Rage 4 review, you motherfucker.
I will cut out everything.
But I'm actually in the boat with you. That's why I put it on here. This series is so goddamn underrated. This series just gets hate and shit on a lot, and everyone hates it basically. And the problem is that Street Fighter fans are hardcore fighting game fans. They care about the straight up balance and mechanics and this and blah 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 and that. I just like the EX games because they're fun. Like, are they as good as, like, say, Tekken? No, they're not as good as Tekken. Are they as good as Soul Calibur? No, they're not as good as Soul Calibur. But for what they went for, I think they're pretty good. I'll say that 2D sprites have aged much better than those early 3D polygon sprites, the 3D polygon things for the characters, you know what I mean? But just models. Thank you. But just in general, like, I spent a shitload of time with 3. 3 is the only Street Fighter game that I had for 10 years on the PlayStation 2. And there were so many characters to unlock. There were so many different, like, fighting styles. And even though, like, the later games have all these super crazy combos, like, you had your meteor combos and all that shit in the EX series, too. And they were a pain in the balls to pull off. Like, you felt accomplished if you could do that. So there was, like, just a ton of reasons to go back. There's a ton of things to unlock in the games. And I just think that, like, they've just been unfairly shit on because the prime Street Fighter community is all just, like, fighting game elitists, which, why I gotta be like that? You're gonna keep yourself from sales, you're gonna keep yourself from pure fun. And I think Capcom, as we've seen with Street Fighter V, they really just placate to the fighting game crowd. It was, like, one of the first topics we ever had in this podcast, like, all those years back.
Yeah.
And I think they're doing themselves a disservice in that way. Like, put these characters in a more fun game that's a little bit more approachable. Like, even fucking Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and Infinite, for the disaster that was, like, yeah, those try to be a little bit more fun, but it's still a little bit too on the crazy combo, you know, all the stupid mechanics, memorize all this stuff kind of shit, where it's like, just give us a goofy fighting game that's fun. Give us another 3D plane. I think with graphics these days, like, you could make a 3D polygonal, well, obviously everything's like polygons now, but you could make a 3D planed Street Fighter game and still make it fun and make it balanced and all that crap.
And at the end of the day, people just want to see the characters they love in that, like you said, yes, the hardcore fighting fans, the esports, all that crazy shit. Cool. You have your games. But you saying everything you just said brought to mind one thing. I don't know about you, and this could be its own topic, but, like, don't you almost feel like some games, when you know there's an unbalanced character, when you get to a certain point, it's almost fun to let one of your buddies be that guy and be like, I want to see if I can fuck them up. Like that fucking bear in Brutal Paws of Fury.
Right, or Cable in Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Yeah, or like the devil in that Tekken game that you would always fucking beat. Like, there's something like it's entertaining. It adds a different level of fun. Whereas if everyone is perfectly balanced, it's kind of like it's not as it's the same as having the all-star team in any sports game and playing the shittiest team. There's like a different element of like I like when you have imbalance because there's an easy way. Going back to if anyone has brothers, if you had a brother who always played a game and he would let you play as the best team, they're going to play as the worst. There's a clear imbalance in his stats, but the skill of the player should make up that delta. And as you get closer, you both agree. Like GoldenEye, you just don't let anyone play as a fucking Odd job. But here's the deal. If somebody really sucks, maybe just say, all right, just play as Odd Job. Whatever. Like, you just do that as a means of bringing in new players. And it also, if you are two players that are really good and you just have one that wants to talk shit, and you'd be like, go ahead, you be Odd Job. I'll still fuck you up. Like, there's fun to that as well. So
yeah, and to your point, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is one of the most unbalanced fighting games that have ever been made. And you know what else it is? It's one of the most beloved. It's one of the ones that still comes back at EVO every year. It's one of the most fun fighting games that have ever been made. You don't need goddamn perfect balance to be a fun fighting game.
Exactly. Yeah, you can just have a gentleman's agreement to just say, all right, nobody pick Cable. Nobody pick so-and-so. Nobody, like... But if you're just fucking around, sometimes it's fun. So, yeah, I think a full 3D Street, as you said, Street Fighter... They seem to only care about the hardcore crowd now. They don't want the casual fan. They don't want just fun. They want competition. It's one of the reasons why I've always liked Mortal Kombat more than Street Fighter is like Mortal Kombat had fun with its games. It had fucking you turning its enemies into babies for Christ's sake. And Street Fighter's just worried about like everyone's balanced by you do this with this with this. It's like, okay, it's just two different schools.
Just give me Skullomania back.
Damn it, Jim.
Skullomania.
That's pretty cool. So yeah, let us know what you think below. Obviously, Jim and I are in agreement now twice in a row. This is kind of weird. And
rarity.
If you think it's overrated, which I think too many people shit on it for it to ever be overrated, but if you think it's overrated, let us know below.
Yeah, I would actually love to see someone say how it's overrated.
It would be interesting.
Because fucking that means it was rated at first. Which, oh boy.
All right, so we're back. Had to take a little pee break.
Oh yeah.
I've actually moved on from that very delicious chocolate caramel cookie sharing size, which I guess it's a sharing size, but I already finished it. And I'm already halfway done my next one, which was a Murphy's Imported Stout. It's just much lighter stout, but still, this is what you would call a sharing size. And this one is it's only 4%, so this one's really weak in alcohol.
Wow.
But it's like a session stout, like a lot of stouts from Ireland. Even Guinness tends to be only 5 to 6%. But it's just an easier drinking stout. I didn't want to mix too much crazy different style beers, as I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast. That didn't work out too well for me. So
yeah, going back to my Citra Pale Ale by Hinterland, it's good. If this is another one of those where if you don't like overly hoppy pale ales, then this is perfect for you. I went through 3 of them, and dude, I burned through these. Like they are very smooth. Nothing like a lot of the beers with these craft beer boxes I've had. There's nothing incredibly special about them, but overall they're just smooth, tasty beers. The Citra part of it, you can taste the citrus on like the initial tongue feel with it, but then once it gets to the back end, then you get like the hoppy pale ale kind of stuff. So overall, it's fine.
Of course.
No, yeah, I know I just wanted to piss you off. No, like I said, if you're a person who doesn't like overly hoppy craft beer, that's a good one to go for.
You on?
Go on.
Oh, excuse me. Are you on 1 or 2?
Oh, I finished 3.
Oh, okay. Nice.
And so to finish off before this last segment, I of course have to disappoint you. So I will be enjoying a delicious and refreshing Smirnoff Ice Zero Sugar.
Jim, why is that even in your goddamn household? Just tell me it's for Sandy.
So
Jim,
no,
Jim,
wait.
I don't want you to lie to me.
I'm not.
But please tell me it's for Sandy.
No, it is really for Sandy. So we've had my wife's dad come over to watch our kid while we work because daycares have been closed for a month. So he'll stay a couple days a week. So one night he randomly and he has the same like sugar issues like my wife has. So like he came home with these 0 sugar ones, and he was like, "You guys are drinking these with me," and I'm like, "Okay." And as we're drinking them, it's like, "Oh, these are tasty." So she can handle these. Like she can't do a lot of mixed liquor drinks. So she we always have like a case of these on hand for her, and her dad will have the occasional ones. But once in a while, it's a nice little tasty treat for myself, Bri. Nice little snack.
But Jim,
little
I
snack.
feel like you have that sentence for all your drinks at this point. So you no longer have things as just nice little treats or, oh, this is a nice little whatever. I feel like that's all you ever have, and you're actually sprinkling in.
I'm a man who likes his treats, Brian.
Yeah, so stop saying that. Just say, this is my casual. Just listen, Jim. We're in a very accepting society these days. All things are being accepted. Just accept, like, you don't drink good shit, and that's your preference. That's absolutely fine.
Wow, you take a sip of this tasty bastard and tell me it's not good shit, all right? That's what I say to you.
Jim, you know I will. I'll say it's not tasty.
It's like a flat Sprite with liquor in it.
That doesn't sound good at all.
It's delicious.
I don't want a flat. I never was like, you know what I need right now? A flat Sprite.
Well,
if I'm gonna fucking have Sprite, like what? That's like saying I have this rotted meat. Like that. I don't want the bad version of the thing I like. I like Sprite. I don't want flat Sprite.
Taste the rainbow, Brian. Taste the rainbow.
That is goddamn Skittles. That's not even Sprite.
Taste the rainbow.
Fuck. All right. So moving on to the last topic. This is something I threw in here. This. So I threw this in here.
Literally like the 11th hour.
Yeah. So if you have been following our site on Twitter, from our website, it doesn't matter. Even on our YouTube channel, we talked about, we used to have brackets all the time. And I love this particular site I used to use. It was called, I think, Brackify. It was really convenient. You just drop thumbnails, you put the list up, and you set an amount of time people could vote on stuff. It made it really easy for us to interact with you guys, to have you guys vote on stuff, but as a topic for Jim and I to talk about, like a wider range, instead of making a whole drawn-out top 10 or top this, it was a fun exercise. And what you've been seeing online a lot is these, I'll call them tier lists.
It's tier maker. Everyone knows them.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, whether you use tier maker or something else. And the most common popular thing is to see a graded version of S through F. And in our case, today we're only using S through D. But at the end of the day, it basically is just a ranking of, it doesn't matter. S is the best, then A, B, C, D, F, etc. So somebody had posted, I don't even know what it was. It was actually for like an old Call of Duty game. And I was like, let me like look into making that for Streets of Rage, because we've just played that game. And I thought about making one for the characters. I went on tiermaker.com. I just typed in Streets of Rage. I saw a bunch of people made Streets of Rage character ones. And it's really easy. It's a drag and drop random thumbnails. The link is below.
Works on mobile.
If you want to... Yeah, if you want to do it yourself, go ahead. The link is down there. And I just said, let me and Jim, we're each going to create our own. Let's talk about it. But we'll always do this now every week, especially for podcasts, for our Patreons to interact with you guys. And then eventually it will be available for anyone else after the fact. So we did our Streets of Rage. Some of it was
also
exactly
before you go forward, we are going to be replacing because on the patron tiers we have, one time only you get to pick a bracket that we set up. Well, now we're going to replace that with you get to set a tier maker that we'll set up and we'll do, and we'll do it as we do
exactly.
This one going forward.
Yeah, so if it's just a $1 tier,
$1 you can participate, and what do you call it? I think it's the $5 tier. You can give us one that we'll make. That'll be the subject for the podcast.
whatever the case is, I'm just like, you know what, this is something Jim and I are going to do regardless. If you participate, you want us to make it, follow the tier guidelines that Jim set up. But if you just want to participate with us prior to podcast, like some of the folks already did, and thank you for the ones that did send it in. We know it was last minute. But anyway, getting into it, first let's just get out of the way the ones Jim and I agree on. Starting with S, we both put Max down there.
Damn
which,
right.
as I said earlier, even with the 2 people who submitted, and as I saw when I went through like community rankings, everyone has Max at fucking D or C. So people fucking hate Max. Jim and I are just the weirdos. I think we just like tank characters based on how we rank this stuff. I know I always tend to like, if I'm going to be somebody in a beat 'em up, I almost always go for the average kind of guy that's like the average stats across the board, like speed, strength, everything, or I go for the tank. That's always my 2 like defaults. So I think it's safe to say, Jim, although given how you've been acting recently, you tend to go for smaller, faster characters.
No, I'm always the more tanky kind of characters.
You never go in the middle. It doesn't seem like you never
no,
go
you know what,
for.
You're right. I'm not an in the middle guy. I either like, weak and fast or strong and slow. That's pretty much what I like the most.
Exactly. So that's the only ones we agree on
the
for
bedroom.
the Esk. Ah, Jim. I don't even know what to say.
Right, the easy dunk. You couldn't have said that there's, oh, I didn't see any strong or what do you call it, weak and slow characters.
I'm not saying nothing, Jim.
Disappointed.
All right, so then the next one for the A tier.
Well, let's go. You know what? Instead of
I just first want to. Well, all right, yeah. You know what? Well, let's just do it that way. All right, so we'll just go down the line how it's listed because I have a blank template in front of me. So starting with Adam from Streets of Rage 1.
Well, just go from S. Just give your S down. I'll give my S down.
All right, that's fine. All right, so for me, S is going to be Max, Adam from Streets of Rage 4, and that's it. And Jim, as you can tell and as you've seen from our site, tends to over-abuse what a perfect score means. He gave Adam from Streets of Rage 1, Dr. Zan, Max.
No, you didn't. You're not looking at the updated one. God damn it.
Oh, hold on. I am looking at the updated one.
I'll send it again, you dum-dum.
You must have sent a third updated one.
No, I didn't. No, I sent you the ones that people sent us. But here, let me see. Here, I'm sending it right now.
All right, wait. I see a different one. Hold on. So Jim's S is Adam from Streets of Rage 1, Max, and what's her name? Rocket?
No, Cherry.
Cherry.
Adam's daughter.
Cherry.
From 4.
All right, so let's just get this out of the way, Jim. Number 1, Adam from Streets of Rage. The reason you'll see all my characters from Streets of Rage 1, and here's the deal. This is completely like I'm not even gonna try to debate Jim because these at the end of the day they're personal. But I think you're putting, and tell me if I'm wrong, you're putting Adam on there because you used him in Streets of Rage 4 and he's so strong.
No, on my S tier, and originally I had Zan on the S tier. Originally my S tier was all my go-to characters for each game. But even then I had to knock Zan down.
Okay.
I had to knock Zan down a notch.
But even then, in Streets of Rage 1,
Adam's the best.
I mean, I played through it. But here's the deal. He's the best by the smallest margin, and even best is it's not like he wasn't significantly stronger or faster. Like him and Axel were, for the most part, especially because you take out the special moves in that one, they were damn near interchangeable. The biggest thing I liked about him in one was that his reach seemed to be a little bit further. Like his punch chop thing was a little bit further. Blaze was the fastest and Axel was like somewhere in the middle. But in the first game, he wasn't particularly stronger. He was just, he had that little bit of reach.
He had a little bit of reach. He had a slightly better, better than Axel. He had a way better jump than Axel, but not nearly as good as Blaze's. But I think I mean, if you look at the stats, I think he's technically like the strongest, but he also moves way better than Axel. I fucking hate Axel in X Streets of Rage 1. As we'll see.
No, Streets of Rage 1, the characters are all blah. But what I think helps them, and I'm using these characters across all games, not just their respective, the only game they started in. They're all strong as shit in Streets of Rage 4. With Blaze, I think still being the best character to translate because she is strong and still pretty goddamn fast. Whereas Axel and Adam are just pure tanks and strong, and their attacks are crazy if you play as them in Streets of Rage 4, but they suck as far as movement. They suck as even their jump. Like, they're not good to play with unless you're playing with somebody who's playing as a speed character. Like, you can't have two tanks, and it would just take forever. And since their special is just that bazooka gun, it also limits them in that as well. So that's why I couldn't do S. And you putting Cherry, like I said, the only thing is,
you know what? Normally, I hate playing as Skate. I even don't like playing as Blaze that much. I love playing as Cherry in Streets of Rage 4.
Yeah, see, I played as her by myself and with you. Here's the deal. She's just really fast.
She runs circles around the bosses. And if you,
she's super fast, but she's weak as shit,
combos.
and her specials are weak as fuck. Like, they do almost nothing. So the only advantage, once again, she's only good if you're playing with a tank character. If somebody's like really dishing out at damage, and you're running around doing other stuff, she's useful. If you're playing by yourself and only her, which I don't know if you have done.
Oh, she's my main when I play by myself.
It just makes levels take so much longer than they have to.
But you also live longer.
You just get combos.
Yeah, you build the combos and they can't touch you.
Yeah, see, I never had an issue if I play as any of the other main characters. I'm taking out the special characters in 4. I had zero issue, and I'm taking Blaze out of that equation because she fucking blows, and we both say that. But I had zero issue going through levels and blasting through them with all the other characters when you use your specials the right way. Her specials were the worst of that group. But like I said, it's your call. You always make terrible decisions.
Just stay wrong. All right, A tier. What's yours?
All right, so A, I have Axel from this new game, Axel from Streets of Rage 2, Shiva, and Blaze from Streets of Rage 1. Similar to Jim, Streets of Rage 1, I think just Blaze is the fastest, and they're all strong. I would never choose her the most because I tend to like stronger characters, but in this new game, she's a beast. Axel is just always, as a medium character, I always like starting as him to get the feel of the game. And I really like how he is in this game. And in 2, he's pretty beastly too. Like, his specials are just very, very effective. So I have him, and Shiva's just a badass. But Shiva just was I never liked Shiva's specials enough to put him up to S tier. So that's where he's at.
All right, and my A tier, I have Axel from Streets of Rage 3, Adam from Streets of Rage 4, Dr. Zand, and Shiva. So we both have Shiva in there.
Let me just say one thing. I didn't even mention it. During my S tier, I had Adam from the new game. So Adam from the new game, to me, is by far the best new character because he is fast, not as fast as Cherry,
right,
but he's like just as strong as Axel and has great like kicks. His specials can bounce from player to player, so you can chain in a lot of combos, but he's strong enough to take down heavy hitters, and he doesn't take forever. And his just even like combo like punch has like a better area effect. So to me, he is by far the best character once you unlock him. He's the like speed with the strength, like he's the perfect combo, whereas Axel's that kind of like slower version of him. Cherry's the weak version and just fast version of him, and Blaze sucks.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Like, I think overall, Adam is the best character in Streets of Rage 4.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have Streets of Rage 3 Axel because it's like Axel, but, you know, he can actually consistently run like anyone can do in Streets of Rage 3. Adam, like we talked about. Zand, because he's my favorite in Streets of Rage 3. But the only thing that knocks him out of the S tier is because he's a letdown from the others because he's the only character that doesn't have a special, like, different animations for different weapons. He just turns them all into the energy ball. So that's why I put him down. And then Shiva's cool. Shiva would be S tier if he could use weapons, but he can't. But everything else about him is just awesome.
Yeah. All right, so for me, for the B tier, I have Axel from 3, Axel from 1, Adam from 1. Fuck, what's that guy's name? The cyber arm
Maui.
from Maui.
I mean, that's not his real name, but that's what I call him.
I know. Fuck, what is his name?
I forget.
Jim, you've played through it like 7 times.
I'm always Cherry or Adam.
All right, well,
I'm
the guy
looking
with the
it up.
cyber arm from 4. And Sherry. So I look at Axel. Axel should always be your middle of the road guy, other than what I mentioned. I think he's better in some of those games, but in 1, he's as middle of the road as it gets. In 3, he's as middle of the road as it gets. Same as Adam is, like Jim said, he might have some advantages in 1, but it's not that crazy. It's almost like a minor preference. The Maui guy that Jim's looking up, that I can't believe we don't remember his name. Floyd. He's cool. He's a tank character, and I kind of like his reach ability. But the problem is, like, it's such a limited... If that range was just a little bit longer, I would have him higher. But I feel like he's just like... He's like, there's better tank characters, especially once you start unlocking them. And Cherry, as I said, she's just pure speed. She's weak as shit, and she's only really useful with a tank character unless you want to spend a lot more time on a level. And her specials are probably the worst of the new characters.
Yeah.
So what's your B?
All right, my B is Blaze from Streets of Rage 3, Axel from Streets of Rage 4, Maui, Blaze from Streets of Rage 4, Blaze from Streets of Rage 2, Axel from Streets of Rage 2, and Skate from Streets of Rage 2.
That is so many people.
Yeah, my B is stacked. And really...
You should just... At this point, you should just say they're just all average to you.
That's what it is.
Don't try and explain.
No, it really is.
Yeah.
They're just all average. I'm okay as all of them. I kind of enjoy playing as all of them. I don't hate playing as any of them. But they're all just kind of, meh, yeah, I'll use this guy this time. That's what they are to me.
Gotcha. All right, so for my C level, I'm putting Skate and Blaze from Streets of Rage 3. It's simple. All characters from Streets of Rage 3 kind of suck. And those two are just probably a level below. Axel is the best in Streets of Rage 3. Those two are right under him.
Zan is the best in Streets of Rage 3. And
nope. Jim,
and
just
all the characters in 3 can run
list.
circles around their 1s and 2 because they can all run. And they can all... We'll talk about in the review why, but yeah, my C is Blaze from Streets of Rage 1 and Skate from Streets of Rage 3. Because Skate gets to bump down here because his forward special move is worse in this game than it was in 2. It's less useful. So that's why he gets bumped. And then Blaze...
Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
What?
No, go ahead.
Okay. And then for Blaze, I mean, she can jump really good, but her being that weak in 1 is just such a detriment. So because you can't run around people enough to make up for the lack of, like, power, pretty much.
So I fucked up. My C is actually Blaze and Skate from Streets of Rage 2, not Streets of Rage 3. Streets of Rage 2 because those two are the worst characters from that game. And I felt like Skate was always... I would play as them like almost as a joke or a challenge. Blaze was just always kind of like, she was kind of boring. I didn't really like playing as her. Like, her move hits always felt a little awkward. So, yeah, they're my C ranks. Not my... I didn't mean Streets of Rage 3. I meant Streets of Rage 2.
Gotcha.
So, big difference there.
Yep.
All right, so for my D, that's Skate and Blaze from Streets of Rage 3.
Hate
for the reason I just mentioned. Worst game, worst characters, simple enough. Dr. Zan, as Jim sucks on his nuts, he is the tank character. He has the worst animation in any of these fucking games. Like, his hits are so stupid. As Jim said, you do have a special, but they're so useless as him because any weapon you pick up, you turn into this goddamn weird energy projection, which doesn't work as well.
Go bowling.
So it's
Go
almost
bowling.
useless. Yeah, it just makes it useless to almost pick up a weapon versus the true purpose of the weapons, which is like you can have an area effect against cross multiple guys. He's such a letdown when you come from Max to him, and he should be cool with a cyber arm, but in that game he's fucking just useless, and his run is like it's just. There's nothing good about him. He was just a complete letdown for a tank character. He didn't feel like a tank character. He felt like a slower version of an Axel character with a goofy move that didn't translate well. And Blaze from the newest game, because honestly, I tried her so many times. She might be good for initial hits or starting chains, but I felt like she was just the worst character by far. And I don't see anybody ever picking her when we play. So,
Yeah, and my we're on D tier, right?
yep.
Yeah, my D tier is just Axel from Streets of Rage 1 because I fucking hate being him. No matter what, his awful lack of jump is just a killer, especially in 1. For a lot of the boss fights, like you need to have a decent jump to get through it with like minimal problems. And his like, oh, my little knee, then do a little skip with my knee. Like it's just garbage. He hits good. He hit good, but he don't jump good. So I hate him.
And yet, he was the reason we won the game the first time we played through.
Because I was there doing all the real work, and you were just there going, ooh, tank hit, tank hit.
Yeah. So
you're welcome, Brian.
I did all.
You're welcome.
The footage
shows,
in.
I got better as we got on, and I was winning more of the
Wait,
rounds towards the end of the game.
Whoa, Jim. Now, if you really want to go down this road, we can compare every single stage. Literally, one stage, and it was a stage we ended up both dying on, is the only stage you outscored me. So
I did on like 2 or 3 stages. Something like that.
One stage. You got close on others, but you didn't actually do it. So
you played it before I did, so you had the advantage going in. Titanfall over again.
Actually, I didn't play it at all. So I beat Jim 11-1, and as I showed in Streets of Rage 2, I beat him in that. So I mean, it's just clear I'm better at Jim at Streets of Rage. So I'm curious what you guys. Now we'll real quick read off. We did get some sent in to us. So the first one comes to our buddy from Astral, who has as his S tier.
Loves the Hunter family. Loves them.
He does. He's got Adam from 1.
He's got Adam, Cherry, Skate. Let's just blow through it.
Yeah. He's got the full, as Jim said, the Hunter family.
Which, Adam and S, Adam from Streets Rage 1, good man.
Yeah, no, that's a bit terrible. I like, clearly he's a speed guy. That's his list clearly just reads right off the bat.
Me too.
He just likes playing a speed. Damn it, Jim. From his A, he's got, that should piss you off. He's got Axel from 1 and 3. And he's got
Axel from 3 is fine.
He's got Blaze from
1.
Is that 1? And he's
Blaze
got Blaze from 4,
Wow.
which I don't know. He's from his B. He's got Axel from 2 and Dr. Zan.
That's Axel from 1.
Are you sure?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. And then C, he's got Max, Axel from the newest one, and Shiva. And then D, he's got Floyd and Blaze from 1 and 2.
No, he's got Blaze from 2 and 3. But he does not like him some tanks, as we can see.
So obviously Astral is a guy, he plays for speed. He hates tanks. And it's just very different from both me and Jim. There's not a lot of
There's a couple. He's got Adam, he's got Axel in the right spot from Streets Rage 3.
Oh, yeah, you're right. He's got Adam from Streets Rage 4 and S, which is right. But he's fucking up a lot of his lists. So.
Now, this motherfucker coming up here, because I see what he's got at the bottom. This piece of shit. Goddamn Snarkcast.
Yeah,
we're going to have words. We're going to have words on this one.
Our buddy Todd. So his list is actually interesting because he's clearly not hating on any very specific list. But for his S, he's got Adam from the new one.
He's got Adam, Axel, and Floyd from 4. They're all from the new one.
Yeah, all the new one. But it does seem, even though she's just by the next tier, they're the best. So then he's got Axel from
2 and 3.
2 and 3.
Yep.
Then he's got Blaze from 2 and 3.
From
then
2,
he's got
3, and
Shiva.
4.
Yeah, and then he's got Shiva, so he clearly likes that group. Then B, he's got Axel from 1, Blaze from 1, and Cherry. Then C, he's got Adam and the 2 skates.
Or D. Or, yeah, C. Sorry.
And then D, he's got Max and Zane.
You
So
motherfucker.
he clearly...
You piece of shit. You put my goddamn precious Zan and Max all the way goddamn down there.
Well, Zan, you're absolutely right, Todd. There's no doubt. And Todd, you were right about Adam from 4 at S. But Max, that's goddamn blasphemy. Clearly, you hate those 2 tank characters, but you like Floyd. I guess you like Floyd because he can do the reach. But once again, this is completely, it's subjective. You know, there is no clear, which is why I can't wait till we get on some other topics. Unfortunately, there's a lot of series I would love to do with Jim, but he doesn't play games enough to actually have opinions. So I got to really curtail it to what Jim plays, which is like 50 games.
All right, Brian, between the ones we got in from the patrons, which one do you like better? Between Astral and Snarkcast?
I guess just because of the blasphemy, I have to go with Astral.
Yeah, I got to go with that too, because we agree on at least 2 guys with Adam and Axel in certain spots, but the blatant disrespect to Max, unacceptable.
Here's the deal. What I will say is I think Todd's is a more well-balanced list.
Yes.
Whereas Astral is just pure speed up top, which I don't agree with at all. Because I think speed is just, speed is only complemented by a heavy tank character.
But he does hate Blaze, which I can also respect.
It's not as... Yeah, Blaze is I don't know if it's just me and you just don't use her enough, but I never see her getting a lot of love.
Well, it is funny on like any review that you watch of Streets of Rage 4, all anyone uses is goddamn Axel and Blaze. Like they'll be like, "Oh yeah, these characters are here too." Blatant disrespect to Floyd and Cherry. They are way better characters to use.
Like Floyd, when you and I first used him, we're like, holy shit! Like he is the tank.
Oh yeah.
Until you unlock the tank, until you unlock Streets of Rage 1 characters, and then you see what real tanks feel like. You're like, oh, okay. He's absolutely fine. The fact that he can grab 2 people at once, that's huge. Yeah, he's under, like, I think he's a interesting tank character for that purpose. But yeah, so either way, from now on, every week, if you're on Patreon, check out that tier maker.
We'll probably figure out a way to be less long-winded as we go on explaining our choices, but this is the first time we did it, so hey.
Exactly. Even if it becomes just something that's on our site, we vote it up, we just post everybody's stuff. We might just quickly go over it. But either way, with that, thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to us on YouTube. Check us out on iTunes. If you're listening to us on iTunes, give us a rating. Even if you absolutely hate us, give us a 5-star and tell us why you hate us. And until next time, guys, cheers.